Good Tuesday morning, everyone. And it really is Tuesday morning. It's early. It's about 6:30. Usually Mrs. Parrott is already at school. I'm packing my cottage cheese and apples and getting ready to go. I actually went to school yesterday on Monday when you guys were picking up your packets and saw Miss Friend and Miss McDaniel and spoke at a distance, which was fun. I think being in the building made me miss you kids even more. Oh, do you see I have my "You Can't Be Doing That" shirt on? Does anybody watch Governor Bashir at 5 o'clock every day? I do it. It just makes me feel a little bit better. He always says we'll get through this together. But when people gather at a park or have a small party, he'll say, "You can't be doing that." So I thought it would be fun to have the shirt. And you know what I just noticed when I came in my room? I don't know if you can see above those two pictures. I see candy that the Easter Bunny left that my kids didn't even find. I might have that for breakfast. Anyway, let's get started. What we're doing this week and next week, it's a little longer than the last chapter, is learning about the first people who lived in Kentucky and then the explorers who came and explored Kentucky. Of course, you know the most famous one, Daniel Boone. So let's start today. We all know that the Native Americans were the first ones who lived here. You've got a brand new packet. If you don't have it yet, you really do have to get it. It starts on page 132. It's chapter 8 of our blue book that we didn't get to use while we were at school. And Mrs. Anderson said you can pick up packets now every day at school. So if you did not get to Kit Carson yesterday, please go today sometime between 9 and 3. Make that 9 and 2 to be on the safe side. 9 and 2. You have to have this packet so you can read along with me and take notes and be ready for the test, which will be the end of next week, but possibly the week after that. This is going to take us at least 2 weeks. We'll do what we did last time, 2 pages a day, and then one day I'll leave just for answering questions about those pages. So today we're going to do pages 132 and 133 and learn about people, Indians, Native Americans, called the Adena. So, American Indians, take out your yellow folder and get ready for notes. American Indians, also known as Native Americans, have lived in Kentucky for thousands of years. The Adena were one of the earliest known groups to live in Kentucky. About 2,500 years ago, the Adena lived near the Ohio River. And we know where that is when you cross into Cincinnati. You go over the Ohio River. It really makes up our whole northern border of our state. So now we know where they were living. The Adena were mound builders. A mound is a small hill made by people. The Adena built hundreds of mounds, some in the shape of animals. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio is shaped like a snake and is as long as 4 football fields. And I wish we were in school and you had this book instead of the packets, because there's a beautiful picture of a mound on this page. Do you see it? And the funny thing is, look at this house. I'm trying to go backwards. It looks like these people built their house right near the mound. It's in their backyard. Wouldn't that be a fascinating place to live? Of course, there's a fence around it. You couldn't be climbing on it. But think of the history under that mound going back thousands of years, 2,000 years ago. Adena life. The Adena lived in the mild climate of the Ohio River Valley. The region had forests and many waterways. They grew squash, gourds, and sunflowers. They also hunted deer and fished for catfish. The 2 famous Adena mound sites are in Wickliffe and Paducah. The Adena built wood and grass houses near their mounds. They used mounds as burial sites. When an Adena person died, he or she was buried in a mound. As more people died and were buried, the larger the mound grew. Scientists study the mounds to learn about Adena culture. A culture is a way of life shared by a group of people. It includes arts, beliefs, customs, skills, languages, and literature. Scientists have learned about the culture of the Adena from things such as rock necklaces, bones, bracelets, and copper beads buried inside the mounds. Scientists were especially interested in the copper beads because copper didn't come from Kentucky. It came from a place hundreds of miles away. Scientists believe that shows the Adena traded with other groups for the copper. About 300 years after they began building mounds, the Adena culture slowly ended. No one knows why. Other American Indians took on Adena customs and carried on parts of their culture, such as mound building, for many years. After the Adena, few American Indians made permanent homes in Kentucky. Some groups continued to live on lands here, traveling from place to place. One such group was the Shawnee, and we'll talk about the Shawnee tomorrow. So what I'd like you to do is take your yellow folder, open to a clean page, and do what I did. I made 2 columns, but really as kind of a small third column over here where we can write some words, okay? There we go. So you should have the Adena in one column and the Shawnee in another. And now I want you to, I can't get used to doing this backwards. There. I want you to write down some words. So the Adena lived 2,500 years ago. They were called mound builders. There, and if you have to stop this, do it. That's what we're practicing. Their homes were wood and grass houses. They grew squash, gourds, sunflowers. They hunted deer and fished for catfish. Their mounds were used for burials. And now the significance, and remember that means important. Why was this important? The scientists were able to study what they found in the mounds to learn about the Adena. Some things they found were rock necklaces, bones of people, of course, bracelets, copper beads. They lived here for about 300 years. And another reason they're important is they were the last group to live here permanently. People like the Shawnee and the Cherokee came through here. Maybe they lived here while it was warm and planted some things and ate them. And then when it was cold, they moved somewhere farther south, maybe Tennessee. Okay, I think that's it for today. I really do want you to underline things in your packet if you feel they're important, or definitely write them down. We're doing this so you can try to remember this information. And I always picture you at a cocktail party when you're 30 years old. And what if you're talking to someone and you say you're from Kentucky and that person says, "Oh, I don't even know anything about Kentucky." Well, that's when you use some of your knowledge. Say, "Oh, it's such a great state." You can tell them about what it's like now, but you can say, "You know, the Indians lived there first, some groups like the Adena and the Shawnee, and one of the most famous explorers in our country came here, Daniel Boone, and he explored right where we live, where the Kentucky River is." We'll talk about him in a few days. So you really want to know about your own state, especially when you meet people from other states. They like to learn things like this. So anyway, that's it. We came in under 10 minutes. I'm excited to see you again, and look for another video tomorrow when we talk about the Shawnee. Bye.